Hey Garth Gang, and we're back with our Elementalist Golem Heist build. In summary, we ran this character and build from Act 1 to Act 6. We migrated from SSF Standard to Standard, and then we did a second test and ran that from Act 1 to Act 6, where we then migrated over to Standard and deleted the character after stripping it down. And then I ran this character, the original character, from Act 6 to level 67. And we did our 3 labs. That's normal, cruel and merc. I've ran 4 contracts brought from the vendor at level 67. Changed a few bits, and this is kind of the part 1 of the finalized build. There isn't going to be a path of building, and as this video goes live, this character will also be deleted, so you won't be able to check it on my profile. The reason for that is we are still testing the build, and I don't want to provide a POB for you to copy because there's a chance it's going to change, and I would hate for you to invest any currency in a build like this only to find out that in a few days it's changed because I found one that works better. So that's a disclaimer in the notes. Furthermore, there's going to be a couple of setups on here depending on the options and the stages. So I'll go through what I've got now, and then after going through what we have now, I'll go through the options. So let's start with the tree. I have chosen to come through Legion of the Primordial and the Elementor. Obviously we're running Golems. The 2 options here is to go either for Bastion of Elements or to come down for Shaper of Winter, and I'll explain that when I go through the skills. We've came through here, we've taken all these life and mana nodes, we've got a gem here, we've taken quick recovery, we've come up for Asylum and unable to be maimed and hindered. Life up here, Vitality mana res, dual socket here, currently got Assassin's Haste. Golem Commander there, down for Influence down here, although I'm not certain I'll keep this, but at the moment that's where it sits. Down through here for Retribution, Discipline Training, Sanctity down here for Constitution, and the first dual socket of Primordial Eminence here for the 50 life, another dual socket here, up through for Redemption and Righteous Army, the full Reservation Sovereignty Wheel, and then we've picked up auras from your skills of 10% increased effect, and finally Purity of the Flesh. Gem wise, you would be looking for 3 of the Primordial Eminence and then the Anima Stone, so you need 4 sockets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ideally a 5th to pick up a Watcher's Eye, and I'll go into reason why in a moment. On to our gear and skills. So we are running 4 uniques, Clay Shaper or Golems, Devoto's Devotion, the standard Heist helm. I'm using gear from my standard stash, and I've made sure that the Devoto's Devotion has an irrelevant enchant on it so as not to skew the build, because the idea is this is a day 1/2 league start build character setup. Death Rush and a Carcass Jack. Now the reason I'm gone for a Carcass Jack is I don't like temporary minions such as Raised Spectre or SRS or anything like that. I prefer permanent minions, which is why most minion builds in PoE I absolutely hate. Golems I love, so because they're permanent, well, virtually permanent, or if they die they summon themselves back, so that's fine. Because of that, I've chosen to go for a button I can press to do damage myself, and in this case we have Vortex, which is why I have come down for Shaper of the Winter. All damage with hits can chill. Well, we've only got 1, and that's Vortex. Chills from your hits always reduce action speed by at least 15%. Vortex chills, 50% more effect cold elements you inflict, blah blah blah. And your chills reduce action speed up to a maximum of 40%. So that's why we're reducing the action speed of the mobs in Heist to help our golems kill them, and on the way out it's nice to drop a few around the door. Also we've got increased elemental damage there. Now if you don't want to use Vortex and you're quite happy to use other minions such as skeletons, zombies, or Ray Spectre, you can change the gems and the gear setup how you wish and go for that, and then I would suggest taking Bastion of Elements. Right, with that in mind, let's go through the links. We've got Purity of Elements, Haste and Defiance Banner, Armor Evasion and Anti-Crit, Movement Speed, Cast Speed, Elemental Ailment Immunity, and day 1/2 to help with our elemental resists. Ideally, as you accrue currency, you would rip out Purity of Elements, put in Grace, change a Carcass Jack to a Queen of the Forest, possibly changing out Vortex as well. So there's a bit of re-gearing if you go that route. I mean, by all means, you can start with a Grace and the Queen of the Forest and change the skill. That's your choice. In the helm, we've got our Stone Golem with multi-strike, brutality, minion damage. Got a elemental resist shield we picked up during leveling. If you're going the Grace route, I would suggest a movement speed implicit shield. This is a slow-ish build compared to the Raider and Pathfinder Heist builds I've covered so far. So every little bit of movement speed we can squeeze in is great. This also has Frostblink Life Tap and then Vitality, because the idea is you would change your tree and put 3 points up here for the large jewel socket here, and throw in a Watcher's Eye for a Grace and Vitality. Watcher's Eye, movement speed while affected by Grace, and a relevant Vitality Watcher's Eye. And then your mana pool, you can increase your Vitality to determine your mana pool, basically. In our boots, which were dropped during leveling as well, we've got our Chaos Golem, Feeding Frenzy, mainly physical, and Maim. We've just got a random Stidge I had and a Jewel, which adds damage to our spells and life. It was just one I happened to have laying around. And then in our gloves, we've got our Phase Run, Life Tap, Increased Duration, and Efficacy for even more skill effect duration. Flasks, I rolled these using currency I had in my stash, so I've just gone for a life flask. If you're running Heist, you will have the glass blowers to make one of these 20% easily if you don't already find one with quality on it during the leveling process. And I rolled it until I had anti-bleed. Again, prefix is irrelevant at the moment because effectively you want to get up and running as quickly as possible. So as soon as I hit a bleed without a bad prefix, I kept it. Quicksilver got 9% increased move speed. This isn't legacy, it's current. None of these flasks are legacy. These 3 flasks, the Jade, Granite and Silver flask, were picked up during the leveling process. Act 5, Act 7 and Act 10. Actually put them like that, there we go. And as you can see, they are relevant item levels. This was picked up during leveling, and this was a eye level 85 Quicksilver I had in my stash that was hadn't been rolled, so I just picked it out, threw some alts on it and got movement speed. Because we've got elemental immunity from our Purity of Elements, we've just gone for armor, evasion and reduced effect of curses, just to help us through if we get an Archnem mob with Hexa, or the other one, Effigy, because that can be a bit of a pain as well. So the idea then is we run into Heist, we Frostblink through the mobs behind doors, let our golems kill them all, drop vortexes as we're going through, kill as many mobs as we can going in, and then just activate Phase Run on our flask. And as you can see, with the haste and those 2 active, we do have quite good movement speed actually, even without Queen of the Forest. So it's not that bad. Now you activate the silver flask goes on top of that, which will give you onslaught, and then add in the adrenaline from Death Rush plus a feeding frenzy. Our movement speed does get up there. If you want more movement speed, you can go for the Queen of the Forest setup, although it's not that great. It only adds, without really pushing it min-maxed, it adds about 20% increased movement speed. And that's about it through my testing. So that's the build where it is at the moment. I'm going to test another one from Act 1 to all the way through to 67 based on this skill setup. And I'll use the same gear. I'll put it in a tab and I'll save it all, and I'll run the test again, and hopefully that will be the final test, because my brain has had a bit of enough of this one. So we'll do that one and we'll move on. I've got a couple other builds I want to test and put out builds for, and then obviously I'll keep these builds updated as PoE progresses through leagues, as long as they stay relevant. Hope you enjoyed the vid. Stay safe in Rogue Harbour.